afternoon. This is a meeting of the Conservation Commission being held on November 6, 2024, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Karen Lattin, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Xfinity Channel 1072 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you have been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. If you're online and you're not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you've been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. So that we have a quorum, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Elise Gordon.
Present.
Janet Williams.
Present.
Cheryl Meservey is not here. Eric Hilbert.
Present.
Paul Johnson.
Present.
Bob Del Vecchio is not here, but I am, and so we have a quorum. Before we begin the agenda, Catherine, are there any announcements about any requests for continuances today?
Yes, we have 3 requests for continuance. Request for an order of conditions at 594 Old Harbor Road. The applicant has requested a continuance to November 13th, 2024. Notice of intent at 217 Woodland Way. The applicant has requested a continuance to December 4th, 2024. And request to amend an order of conditions at 1070 Orleans Road. The applicant has requested a continuance to November 13th, 2024.
Great, thank you. At this point, Catherine Ricks, Chatham's Assistant Conservation Agent, will now lead us through the agenda.
Okay, we will start with the request for orders of conditions. The following is a request for an order of conditions at parcel H13, Captain Knowles Way, map 11C, parcel H13 for Minglewood Homes Incorporated, Mass DEP SE number 10-3698, construction of a dwelling within the riverfront area and the buffer zone to a coastal bank, and construction of a swimming pool within the buffer zone to a coastal bank.
Crosswind is moved down after Salt Pond.
Good afternoon, David Clark.
Hey,
Clark
how are you?
Engineering on behalf of Minglewood. I'm good, thank you. I think the only issue that was found, and I think Jen Crawford has already corresponded with staff on, is number 16 on the
Yes.
first page. That needs to be clarified a little bit.
Elise, do you want to read what we wrote? Do you have it, or do you want me to find it? Okay. Yes, she also found a discrepancy between 2 of our things. One said 4 trees will be removed from the circle, and the other said 5. So we
Yeah.
corrected that to say
Okay.
4 for both.
Right, so number 10 is corrected to the cul-de-sac will have 4 trees removed and mitigated with sweet fern, et cetera. And then number 16 is, except for the trees that must be removed for the digging of the foundation, all other trees being removed will be flush cut to the ground.
Yeah, see, that's still a problem in that we've got trees coming out for the driveway, septic system. So I think it's trees within the mitigation area is the intent of that, I would assume, and that you don't want equipment down in the mitigation areas.
So are we
Pulling
going to flush cut any trees?
If trees are, I think
Outside.
the non-natives that are coming out in the mitigation area and the restoration areas, it makes sense just to flush cut those.
Okay.
But typically when they go in and clear a site for house construction, they take everything.
Okay. Question, can we add some wording to leave snags? Any snags on the property?
Well, if they're in the work limit for the house, they're coming out.
Obviously not.
Then they clean out, so,
Yeah.
okay.
But other places like mitigation, could we say leaving a snag?
Oh, I would assume that's okay, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so maybe what we'll do is word it as all trees within the mitigation area will be left as snags?
No,
Yeah,
they're not being removed, trees in the
Oh.
mitigation area. In fact, I don't think there are any. Looking at the mitigation area, there aren't any existing
Okay.
trees that are left there.
I've just never seen that condition before, in that, how do you build a house and leave the roots? In limiting it just to the foundation, I don't think will work.
so if we said limit of work,
Limited
Yeah.
work.
within the limit of work will, may be removed?
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll modify it to change the wording from foundation to the, within the limit of work.
Removed within the limit of work.
Within the limit of work.
Okay, and that would pick up anything else that's not within the limits. Maybe there are some in the mitigation, maybe there
Yeah.
are definitely some on the bank that are not part of the limit of work, so. But I don't know that they're being removed, but just in case.
Maybe the circle.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, what about the circle?
I believe there are non-natives coming out of
Yeah,
the
four,
circle.
five,
Four,
five?
four.
Four
Four.
coming
Yeah.
out, so are they going to have their roots pulled
Yeah, I
out
don't,
too?
I think
wouldn't
Jen
think-
said she wasn't gonna be able to make the meeting, but
No, she's not.
I would imagine if all we're doing is removing invasive and planting natives, those could be flush cut.
Okay, so this language of, because they're not within the limit of work, this would still be fine.
Yeah.
So all other trees will be flush cut to the ground. Okay. Okay.
All right, then, any other changes or anybody on conservation who had anything that they wanted changed? Okay, then I think we can have a motion.
I move that we close the hearing on parcel H13 Captain Knowles Way and approve the order of conditions as written and revised.
Second.
Okay, Paul,
Aye.
Janet,
I'm continue to be troubled by this one, and partly because the number of mature native black oaks that are coming out, and I understand the need for taking out a lot of trees when you're developing a lot, and I understand that this lot, undeveloped, is full of trees, a lot of them have to go. On the other side, you know, the Chatham bylaw says that in all cases, impacts to protected areas must be, in the first case, avoided. And when they can't be avoided, in the second case, they are minimized, and only then are they mitigated. And I just, throughout all these hearings, I don't believe that enough effort has been made to avoid and to minimize the impacts, so I am voting no.
Elise,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Catherine, we're ready for the next.
Okay, the following is a request for an order of conditions at 594 Old Harbor Road, map 16H, parcel 10A-7A, for Amanda P. and Christina D. Van Fleck, Mass DEP SE number 10. Sorry, there is no SE number yet. And then invasive plant management and restoration. The applicant has requested a continuance to November 13th, 2024.
Great, thank you. So Elise,
You're welcome.
I move that we continue 594 Old Harbor Road to November 13th, 2024.
Second.
okay. Paul,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye. All right, the next one, Catherine.
Okay, the next is the request to amend an order of conditions at 1070 Orleans Road, map 10K, parcel 23-A2, for John and Mary Boyle, Mass DEP SE number 10-3611, landscaping, construction of a boardwalk, Phase 1, addition of fiber rolls. The applicant has requested a continuance to November 13th, 2024.
Hey, Elise?
I move that we continue 1070 Orleans Road to November 13th, 2024.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye. All right, Catherine, next one. I like this.
Okay.
We're quite happy.
On to the notices of intent. We have a notice of intent application at 0 Crosswind Farm Road, map 10J, parcel 17A-LP36 for Joseph Gerolimo and Hannah Ewert, Mass DEP SE number 10-3688, proposed single-family dwelling.
She did before.
Good
How are you?
afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
For the record, my name is Hannah Raditz, wetland scientist with BSC. So what is in front of you right now is a minor revision to the previously proposed single-family dwelling at 0 Crosswind Farm. In recent weeks, it was decided that it would be more beneficial to have a shared driveway. The shared driveway, as you can see very easily up on the screen, probably better than you can on the board, is that red outline which sort of straddles the line between the property where the house is proposed, which is that corner lot for 0 Crosswind Farm. And the adjacent lot just to the south is also 0 Crosswind Farm, but is associated with the house at, I believe, 32 Crosswind Farm. They have signed on to this notice of intent application to allow for this proposed driveway. Just as was previously proposed, it will be an asphalt paved driveway for the majority of it, just due to the steepness to control erosion. But as with the previous driveway, a trench drain is still proposed at the edge of the driveway to catch and filter that stormwater runoff. The gravel parking lot area is also shown on the plan, and that will be where they have cars parked there. This is just at the edge of the mapped canopy. As you can see, the canopy edge kind of comes over it, but that's just overhang from a few branches, and it does not mean that any trees will have to be removed. As you can see, the closest 2 trees surveyed in that area are those 2 small cedars. Those will still remain. Overall, this is quite a betterment. The only other shift that I might bring to your attention is the removal of one of the red oaks. We did change the location of one of the cedars, which was closest to the neighboring driveway, which curbs close to the property. We just relocated it a little bit further, and we removed one of the red oak trees just to make some more space for that movement of the cedar. But we're still at a 1-to-1 ratio for the removal of trees that are proposed. As included in the revised plan letter, this is a betterment to all resource areas. We have elimination of all work within land subject to coastal storm flowage, a reduction of 920 square feet of impact to the outer aura of coastal bank, which was originally 2,610 and is now 1,690. And finally, we also have a reduction to the outer aura of salt marsh, where previously it was 1,480, now it is 966 with a 514 square foot reduction. There is a small increase to the outer edge of the ACEC. However, this is that bordering edge. As you can see, the ACEC is sort of like a triangle across our site, and because we're shifting the driveway slightly, we're still within that ACEC. However, that new impact is further from ACEC, not closer to the cove, which is associated with this ACEC. At this time, I will turn it over to the commissioners for any questions.
Okay, this is sort of business side of it, not about your plan. I'm not really sure why the neighboring property was included in the NOI, because we have no jurisdiction over their property.
I believe you just have a tiny amount within ACEC, within that shared driveway.
Oh,
Just a portion.
Because
Yep,
both properties will have this on their deed, and they're aware of that.
they are aware.
So I think yesterday, someone, I hope, contacted you from Conservation and was asking you to check with DEP to see if abutters letters needed to be sent out again based off of the second property being added.
I didn't receive any email
Oh,
notification.
no, I
about
don't
the-
think, well, I don't know if there was
That
any
was
email.
that was a concern of mine as well, because this is a change to scope. It would probably add on 1 or 2 additional abutters.
In which case, you do have to re-notify everyone.
Okay.
So we can't really move forward with this because not all the butters have been notified at this point. What else? You do need to remove the stakes for the old driveway. And then my last question, and then I'll let others know or ask, is who's digging on the property? Because nobody at Conservation was notified.
Hi, I'm Joe Girolamo. I'm
Yeah.
the property owner. Craig Chartier has been digging because at the planning board meeting last month, or maybe in September, I think now, we discussed the potential historical impact of the area. So I contacted Craig and asked him if he'd be able to do a preliminary survey of the site and look for things, and he agreed that he could come out. And we discussed it, and he wasn't aware that he had to let anyone know because it was,
Because we
Yes.
haven't issued an order yet.
Okay.
So technically, nothing should be going on there.
okay.
And who is Craig?
He's an archaeologist with, oh, I forget the name of his company, but he's done work around Chatham. He did the Atwood House dig and things like that. So I know he's known to the Historic Commission. So and he was willing to, issue a letter or something to explain everything he's doing for Conservation Commission as well. So I can reach out to him and have him contact.
Right, but he has to stop now.
But he has to stop now. Okay, yeah, sure.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, first, do any commissioners have anything else they want to say or add? And then, Frank, I do see you have your hand, but I'll call on you once we've done the commissioners.
Yeah, I have a question for Hannah. So I'm still struggling, and I think some of us are, with the extent to which the new driveway, proposed driveway, is within our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So I see I see a line, if you can see where I am, the ACEC limit is here, where I'm moving, comes down to the corner of the house, and then drops down.
It's sort of like a triangle shape. It's
Okay,
based
so
on
it's
the-
not crossing the driveway, it's away from the driveway. The driveway is in, there it is, down
Oh,
the
it-
bottom. I see, down
Yeah,
here.
it just keeps going. So
But that's not on this property, right? So
That's on
that's
the
why we have to
other,
have the abutter joined, because that portion is within ACEC jurisdiction.
in which case, we need it staked.
staked. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
We couldn't tell where.
we can't tell when we're out there where the driveway actually is. So it should have been staked for us. Any other
And
things?
the area of the driveway within the ACEC jurisdictional area is the gravel portion. That's not going to be paved, correct?
Part of
This-
it will be gravel and part of it will be asphalt.
Well, I thought the asphalt part was the approach from the road, where, beginning with the trench drain and moving up, and then the parking
to
areas.
the crossed line. So there's some dotted lines, dotted red lines that are all crossing.
Here, yep,
Yep.
right.
That's where
So,
the gravel will start.
okay, so the only area within our jurisdiction is gravel. There's no paving within,
There is.
where? If this is the ACEC line here, right?
So moving towards the bay is all your jurisdiction.
Okay, so, all right, so it's the other way around. So most of the driveway is within there. Okay. In that case, let me ask you this. It seemed to me, standing at the site, that this new location is significantly less sloped than the previous one. Do you know what the angle is? What do we, the last one was 7%, I think, and then you said that was too steep to have gravel. So do you know what this one is? Because it looks flatter. It does not look like there's any problem with it being pervious, and if,
I don't have the slope percent. It's my understanding that because of the grading, which you could see the grading lines as they cross the driveway, to make it flatter, it will be increasing in steepness.
well, here it is. This is roughly the area.
Seems pretty flat to us.
That's not 7%, there's no way.
Yeah, it can't be anything like that. So I would like that information of some justification for proposing that, and then I will also put you on notice that I would still want to see it done in pervious pavers or pervious asphalt or something that is not impermeable within an ACEC protected area. Last question, and this is for the homeowner. So this picture shows you the existing garage on the adjoining property, which has a paved driveway accessing it. Why is there a need for another driveway, and what's going to become of that one?
I don't know what's gonna be, that's, so the lot with the existing house and the lot that we're proposing to build on are both within a family trust.
Right.
The one in the middle belongs to my sister, and she has expressed that someday down the line, she may want to build.
So there are 3 properties
Yes.
along here. The one that
Yes.
you're developing, this empty space, and then the next one is
With the
that's
house.
already. So this new driveway is going to possibly serve a to-be developed.
Exactly.
Okay, I couldn't
So
understand
it's a
why you
driveway
would be
to
putting it
no
there to
place.
service that house
Yeah,
way over
yes.
there. Okay.
Okay, so it's a driveway to no place right
For the
now.
moment. It's a, yeah.
Okay. Anything else from commissioners? Okay, Frank, I know you have your hand up. You're muted. Frank? Did we lose him?
No, he's still got his hand up.
Yeah. Frank Messina?
Yes, I'm sorry. I
Oh, okay,
apologize.
good. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I was having trouble getting online. I apologize, and I appreciate you recognizing me. Hi, I'm Frank Messina, currently chairman of the Historical Commission, and I just wanted to just say a couple of words, and especially since the subject was brought up relative to the work the archaeologist Craig Cartier is doing on the site. And I appreciate the patience of yourself, the Conservation Commission, and the owner, I think, who reacted to the requests by myself and your agent to Mass Historic for a little bit of a formality relative to the historical significance of cultural resources potentially on this property. And I do appreciate very much so the fact that the owner has initiated independently on his own, even though, as you say, digging on that property is probably something you wanted to be noticed about, and the crossover here between your areas of responsibility and authority, conservation, and the issue of archaeological resources and preserving them where necessary or not disturbing them. So again, it's kind of a thank you, that we're doing this, that you're acknowledging, that there potentially is an issue, and more importantly, the owner. I really don't know him personally, and just some correspondence, but I appreciate the fact that he did initiate the dig, and I would hope that if in fact that archaeologist, Craig Cartier is a pretty much renowned archaeologist. He did the archaeological dig a few hundred feet from there, from the Nickerson family homestead and the Nickerson family cemetery, which is also nearby. We all have reason to believe that this whole area was part of the Nickerson homestead and the estate, and the fact that, somebody's looking at it to become completely obtuse in a way, in the sense that what we hope the Historical Commission, and combining with yourselves, Conservation, and potentially other boards of commission, look at potentially some kind of a bylaw in the future that would allow the town at least to exert, authority is the wrong word, maybe authority is the right word, where when we have an area which is so archaeologically sensitive as this is, that at least we ask the homeowner to stop and take a look and perform a survey, as like the owner is doing with Craig Cartier, to know whether or not we're right or wrong that this could be part of a family burial ground, and in fact, this is nothing more than a cemetery over time. Anyway, I realize it is really not germane relative to what you're trying to do from a conservation commission, but I do appreciate the fact that you've been cooperative and asking the homeowners to take a look, even though I guess it was the planning board that suggested that we stop and take a look before we do some major digging on the property.
Paul,
I realize this is...
Paul,
Well,
I'll call on you
anyway.
in a second, but Frank, I think our issue right now, and because we have not written an order yet, is that something was started without the order having been issued or anyone in conservation being notified. So having said that, Paul, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I can appreciate all your comments, Frank. I just want to clarify the record. I did not initiate, nor did the commission initiate any request to do an archaeological dig. I made a phone call
Correct.
to the state asking what our responsibilities might be, because we were unclear at that time with regard to the issue that Frank raised early on about this being a sensitive site. We received a letter that was addressed to me. I'm not sure why it was addressed to me, because I simply placed a phone call. But in any event, I just want to make sure that everyone understood we didn't initiate anything. We don't have any archaeological performance standards in our bylaw. But I understand that there's sensitivity about this issue. But let's just be clear on the record, Frank. I didn't initiate, nor did the commission initiate the activity that's going on right now there, or a substantial archaeological dig. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. If I may comment, Paul, thank you very much. And I do agree with everything you said and appreciate the fact, and that's why I think all my comments have been kind of hesitant, because there is no standard, there is no bylaw, there is no authority. And I think I prefaced this by thanking the homeowner. I granted if there is some requirement for him to notify somebody before he digs, that's within your purview. And why Mass Historic addressed it to you rather than responding to me with a similar letter, I don't know. It's just Mass Historic. But
Well,
again, the fact that something is happening, and again, thank you very much.
as I said, we hadn't written the order yet, and we were prepared to, but when this notice of intent was modified, it stopped the production of that order, because you've got new people, you've got a new plan, and so we had to vet all of this. And I had figured that in the order, we would put something that would say that as construction was beginning and digging was happening, that people be very cognizant of what could possibly be there and do it carefully. So having said that, you still need to notify abutters again. And so we can't continue this to an order yet, because the abutters have not had an opportunity to chime in.
Understood.
I just had a quick question.
Go ahead.
On the driveway, why, instead of all that work, and why can't you just go west and join the other driveway? Why do you have to make partial driveway down to join when you can just go west, straight line, and just join the other driveway?
You mean the existing one?
Yeah, the existing one.
Because there's a property in between.
The driveway on.
But you're joining that property, right?
No,
No.
there's a second property in between this buildable and
Oh,
the one
okay.
that's
There's,
built.
I
Oh,
think
all
it's
right.
32 or 38.
Oh,
Then there's
okay.
like a very narrow zero,
All right,
and then
I
there's
got it.
another zero.
Okay, thank you.
So we need to continue it, and you need to notify abutters again.
And stake it. Stake it.
Yeah,
Stake it.
and you need to stake it. So,
Clarify the slope and the materials.
I think a month would be good because it might take a week to get the butter notification. And then do the stakeout.
so we are talking, we have December 4th and December 11th.
Perhaps we can aim for December 4th, and if there's a delay, we'll get back to the Conservation Department as soon as we can to request an extension if needed.
Okay.
I move that we continue 0 Crosswind Farm Road to December 4th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
A little bit.
Okay, Catherine. Oh, yes. Just so you know, we've already dealt with your Captain Knowles.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we approved it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yep. David was here.
Or you could just stay here for the day if you find this
I know how much you enjoy our meetings.
Peaceful, you know?
All right, guys, thank you very much.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Catherine, the next.
Okay, notice of intent application at 2 Salt Pond Road, map 17J, parcel 7-4, for Gerald A. Milden, Mass DEP SE number 10-3704, repair to an existing stone revetment.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Bob Perry, Cape Cod Engineering. Thank you for the introduction. Are you taking green cards nowadays? If you don't, I'll
You
have
can
them if
give
you need
those to Crystal.
Very good. This project at 2 Salt Pond Road stems from an emergency authorization that the commission granted, I want to say in June, and it took a little bit more time to put it together. The contractor went in and did the work about 2 months, maybe a month and a half after the emergency was authorized. And because it's difficult to get people to respond and get work done as quickly as you would like, the emergency authorization had a time clock of 30 days after the work started and not from when the emergency was actually
Right.
discussed. So that was very helpful. If you go there today, you hardly know that anything was done. The grass came back. There is about a 40-foot section of the revetment that slipped. And it's a different case than a significant case that you've seen. I think the geology of Minister's Point is different. I think we don't know exactly what's down there, but it seems to be a more consolidated formation, and it just doesn't wash away as rapidly with the current that's there. We had a hydrographic survey done prior to doing the plan, so we could see what kind of slope we're dealing with. And it is a slope that if your toe stone becomes uncovered, and if the contractor didn't set that toe stone so that it would have a tendency to fall back toward the earth or toward the land, if they're on a slope, they could actually stay there. But if they're unstable because of the placement, then they could slip. We believe that's what happened here. And they fetched up down there under the water. And the contractor was able to clear out unstable stones and set new chips and new armor. It's a little rougher, which is better than the wall that was there. And so the notice of intent has been filed to cover the work that was done and to hold open the possibility and the desire for an order of conditions to be in place for similar work, should that become necessary. So we're showing a kind of a jumble down at the profile, bottom of the profile. We think it's something like that. Nobody's gone diving to take a look at it, but it is a collection of fetched up stone that was available to reset the face and the chips on. So there is no regular tidal wash down at that level. We do have currents, we do have wave pressure forces, but it seems to be holding. The repair that was done in 2018, which is a very same type of work, has been stable since it was done in 2018. So our hope is that the track record relating to that type of effort will continue. And that's really where we are with this. The work's done. Similar work might be necessary again. We hope not. So that's it. Happy to take questions.
I'm going to see if anybody else has questions before I go in. Go ahead, Janet.
I just want to clarify, Bob, so even though we had issued an emergency authorization for the work, was the work done in some way that was beyond that you feel that it needs this further authorization through an order of conditions?
Good question. The work that is done under an emergency authorization is required to be, it's my understanding, it's required to be then presented through a notice of intent that's mandated within 30 days.
Okay.
So once the revetment was taken apart, I know when we first spoke to you and we talked about the emergency, we thought that the rocks fetched up as we now know they did.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to reset the face stones on what was there. Something close to that was done.
Okay.
But the machine did set itself down a little more. It's a little bit more like a remodeling job. Once they started taking it apart, they realized what needed to be done. And nothing significantly different was done,
Okay.
except for a clearing out of a little bit of bedstone, an application of replacement fabric because the other fabric had
Right.
torn. And so the notice of intent that you have is an accurate depiction and narrative for what was actually done under the
Okay.
emergency authorization.
Okay, that's clear. But you're also hoping that this could cover any future,
Yeah.
Well,
Repair
we've
work?
done it twice now because of the scouring of the bottom at the toe location. If we're going to file a notice of intent, we're going to get an order of conditions, that's a 3-year permit. I thought it would be appropriate to at least have a scope of work included going forward on a contingency, should it be needed. That's
So-
really all this is.
so the only uncertainty in that is the location, and that would depend on where the failure occurs next, should it occur.
Right.
And but the repair, but doesn't that assume that the failure then would be exactly the same as what happened in this 40-foot section, so that the repair would be exactly the same? What I'm saying is that
No.
you don't know necessarily
No, I don't.
what's
But
going to happen on that revetment.
I don't, and I do believe, though, that rather than have another emergency filing, it might be just cleaner if, let's say, for example, we have some slippage, either where this was repaired or in another location, and we bring that to the attention of the agent or even the commission, if you put it into your conditions, that we have something to deal with. Now, if the scope is beyond what we show you here, then maybe you would want an amended order or a new order or
Yeah.
something.
It's hard to, right, to be honest, it's hard, it feels a bit like signing a blank check. We're just saying, if this thing needs repair, and go for it and do what needs to be done without, and that's a little bit hard to foresee. I can, maybe it'd be possible to say something like, should slippage occur much like the way it has already occurred before, then the same repair that was done and approved could be done and approved with, notice to the agent and the specifics of how that would be done.
Well, this is I'm glad you're bringing it up because there's
I'm
always.
just trying to wrap my head around,
It's not-
I
it's
don't
not-
like signing black checks.
For example, this application is, I don't want to say it's too general, but it is a general request that should repair work be necessary, that's similar to what we've just undergone, we'd like an order of conditions to do it under if it's consistent work.
Right. Well, that would be, I understand completely why you'd want to do that. It would speed up the process. You could address the problem in a much faster, more effective way than,
Yeah.
filing for another emergency and then another NOI and.
Right,
and
well, an
the whole-
emergency isn't always granted.
Right.
And things can get out of control. One other thing, just to mention, it's a licensed revetment, and it really does need to be pretty much in its location. It's still probably within tolerance of that. We're only working above the toe. Although the toe is moved, it moved by natural forces. But I mean, if this thing were to slide out and go to the bottom, I think there's some about 18-foot deep water here, just about 30 feet off. This doesn't cover a wholesale new revetment with, crazy expansion of toe stone. I don't know how to help you continue or condition it, but if it's simply a revisiting of any problem that is brought, say, to the owner's attention or my attention, has to come to you for some form of clarification before the commission would decide if it's consistent with the order.
Right, right. And I'm not exactly sure what that documentation would be. Yeah, it's hard to imagine. I mean, I can see some way of thinking about this in terms of an ongoing maintenance of a
That's-
permitted revetment.
That's all it is.
But the difference between maintenance, repair, and reconstruction gets hard. So,
Well, my picture of this order and of this proposal is that there's an order of conditions to take every face stone off the wall, set it aside, and examine if there's a problem, and then to replace that. But not to increase the height or
Right.
the thickness. And so I can appreciate the difficulty.
yeah.
But if you, I'm sorry, butting in, but
No, go ahead.
if you are saying that, I mean, you might have to do another section, at what point do you say, we need to redo the revetment rather than what I'll call a Band-Aid? And, I mean, it seems you're coming to us for approval of a Band-Aid.
It's actually a reconstruction of a segment that the first time this type of work was done lasted for 6 years so far. Now, it's a Band-Aid, yes. It's a good Band-Aid.
Yeah,
It's a
but,
tourniquet.
and like Janet, I'm struggling with how to, I mean, obviously, you would have to come for approval for any work that was going to be done, because it's not necessarily identical to what you just did.
It
And
may not be.
how do we, we're not approving, we never know what the condition will be, so I'm struggling with how we write this.
Well, if someone came before you and had evaluated what went wrong the next time, they would describe it for you, and they would help you and themselves understand if it was consistent or not. If it's too much, then another way to handle it is to simply issue an order for the repair that was made and let it go. I do want to stress that the purpose of this request is to avoid the awkwardness of an emergency authorization.
And I guess next meeting, you have a COC request for the other order that was for
It
this
was
revetment?
not implemented. There was another
With this steel
stopgap
pile?
back in the old days, and it's expensive. Part of many of these projects in certain locations with, different applicants is that they are concerned about the cost. And when the input from an engineer with some knowledge and a contractor with talent in fixing these, is no stranger to that sort of thing, can, without any apparent adverse environmental impact, render a repair, it's cost-effective, and it's a very reasonable way to go.
All right, but you do have, I think that you've asked that that be closed next meeting?
Right, that was ungodly expensive, and we have,
Yeah.
if the order expired, and there's no
Yes.
point in keeping it open, so it's one of those, you check box one, say the work was never started.
So, I mean, does anybody, do you have any questions, Eric?
The only thing I would say, I would think anything would be an emergency order on this property, any type of slippage. Too bad it couldn't be done like on an RDA if it happened on slip, but that's.
Yeah.
Well, that's
a
up
little-
to you,
Because
you're in the
that's
resource.
too big of a
Um,
project for RDA, so.
While we're on
So-
that topic, if you are working on a stone revetment, are you actively altering a resource area, or are you altering a revetment? You are working in the water, and I've rarely seen it on an RDA, but we'd accept it, of course.
Just kidding.
So I'm going to let Catherine speak. Go ahead, and then I've got another. Go ahead,
I just had a
Catherine.
couple
Good.
items on this. I think when it comes to impact, you also have to consider your temporary impacts for access to the site. So that's one thing with, RDA versus NOI and emergency. But also on this one, I don't remember receiving any alternatives analysis
That was my
on
next.
this. So that's something I think that needs to be considered, especially when it is something like just small section repair and not looking at the full site and the future of it.
And as a result, I had that we needed the alternatives analysis, but we also need a letter requesting a variance
Aha, okay.
because you're certainly within 50 feet of water. So we do need, and if it's a separate letter and it includes the alternatives analysis, Crystal and Catherine have samples for you if you need that.
And I'd be happy to look at those.
So, having said that, obviously, we have to continue. So, when do you want to continue to? I mean,
Well, the work was done. We're hoping
Right.
for no other things.
but it's just because you're asking for an order that allows you to go,
Right,
to potentially do other work in the future, we have to have that alternatives analysis and the variance.
yeah,
Otherwise.
and again, we'd be presuming that we know what's going to happen in the future. So-
Right.
So I get all that, and I'm happy to try to address it. I think I'll consult with the owner to see what
Okay.
his wishes are. Obviously, the alternatives are, you could get carried away. I don't see any reason to do that. And
We
so
just need something.
we'd want to get you some thoughtful approach to, say, a premonition of what might be going on, and the access is certainly an impact
And
in your note, you call it the 50-foot impact
Yeah,
zone.
and as Catherine said, an impact of the access to the site.
Right. So we'll do that in a month would work for me.
Okay,
I
so
think
that
it's safe
puts
to
us
say,
December 4th or December 11th?
I think the 4th would be fine.
Okay. We can have a motion.
I move that we continue 2 Salt Pond Road to November 4th, 2024. I'm
Sec-
sorry, December 4th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, Paul,
Aye.
Thank you.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye. Thank you.
Thanks for taking it up. Bye-bye
Thank
now.
you. Okay, Catherine,
Okay, notice of intent at 217 Woodland Way, map 11K, parcel HC 125, for John and Paul Perlowski, Mass DEP, SC number 10-3702, construction of a swimming pool and patio within the buffer zone to a coastal bank. The applicant has requested a continuance to December 4th, 2024.
okay, we just need a motion.
I move that we continue 217 Woodland Way to December 4th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, Catherine, next.
Okay, moving on to certificates of compliance. The first two are on the same property, so I will open them together. And it is a request for a certificate of compliance at 594 Old Harbor Road, map 16H, parcel 7A for Howard Van Vleck, Mass DEP, SE number 10-2447, shoreline protection and/or nourishment along the shoreline. And a request for a certificate of compliance at 594 Old Harbor Road, map 16H, parcel 7A for Howard Van Vleck, Mass DEP, SE number 10-1524, sewage disposal system upgrade. And I recommend issuing the certificates of compliance for both of these.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? All right, we do a motion.
I move that we approve both certificates of compliance for 594 Old Harbor Road.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, the next.
Okay, and the next two are for a single property, so I will open both at the same time. Certificate of compliance at 3 Scallop Terrace, map 15A, parcel H14A for Paul and Patricia Swenson, Mass DEP, SE number 10-3363. After the fact order of conditions to approve the changes made during construction, including larger outdoor shower, additional step near front landing, bigger driveway, expansion of second-story deck, installation of an at-grade patio under the approved deck, and a request for certificate of compliance at 3 Scallop Terrace, map 15A, parcel H14A, for Paul and Patricia Swenson, Mass DEP, SE number 10-3290, raise and rebuild the dwelling. And I recommend issuance of certificate of compliance for both of those projects.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, we can have a motion.
I move that we approve both certificates of compliance for 3 Scallop Terrace.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye.
I left him hanging.
Okay, Catherine, the next.
Okay, and we have one for the next property. So request for a certificate of compliance at 356 and 366 Shore Road, map 16F, parcels 25-E5 and 24A-E6 for CBI Owner LLC, Mass DEP, SE number 10-3500, beach access stairs. And I recommend issuing the certificate of compliance for this project, and it was a project where the work was not completed.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Elise.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 356 and 366 Shore Road.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, Catherine.
Next, we have the 2025 hearing and deadline schedule review.
Yep. Did everybody look at the dates that were posted in that Teams meeting? If not, I do have the copy. Pretty basic.
Yeah.
Very similar to this year. So, I guess we can have a motion to approve the dates.
I move that we approve the dates for
2025 here.
2025 hearing and deadline schedule.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, and anything unforeseen?
There's no unforeseen business at this time.
Excellent. So we can have one final motion.
The happiest motion. I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I say aye. We are done. Thank you.
Ooh, look at that. Not even 2 o'clock.